Now, so often I see other hosts, blogs, writers, etc., talking about conspiracy theories. Oh, the Rockefellers, the Gettys, the Rothschilds, the Bilderbergs, the lizard people. You don't need any of that. The conspiracy is wide out in the open. They're slapping you across the face with a conspiracy every day. So let me tell you about it. Now, it's not just the Koch brothers. It's a group of people that get together and they tell the press, they almost brag about it, we're going to raise a ton of money and we're going to spend it buying politicians through our nonprofits, our think tanks, our direct contributions, our independent expenditures, etc. We bragged about how many hundreds of millions of dollars we spent on the last campaign. We're going to raise hundreds of millions of dollars more for this one, and wait till you get a load of the next presidential election and how much money we use to buy your next president or your senators or your congressmen. You knuckleheads, that's the conspiracy. In fact, the Koch brothers put together one of their famous summits just last weekend in Laguna Beach. They held it in a fancy hotel. They said, here we are, out in the open, while you're chasing the Bilderberg group. They're like, that's so stupid, we're all right here. So, now why are they now particularly energized, if I could? Well, it's about the energy situation. You see, for example, Koch Industries is an energy and manufacturing company. So that's very related to what's happening to them. And right now there's a lot of things in the news about that. So for example, the EPA passed new rules saying that carbon dioxide emissions have to be limited by 30% going forward for existing power plants. Well, that could affect the Koch brothers. And then in Kansas, their own backyard, the Koch brothers are from Kansas initially, they passed a new regulation saying that 20% of the state's electricity is supposed to come from renewables by the year 2020. Now, even the Republicans in Kansas, who are very, very conservative, passed that because they said, well, that helps our local industry, and we're not going to stop, oil or coal, et cetera, but we're also going to do renewables, right? Well, you see, Koch Industries is not in the renewable energy business. They're in the oil business. They're in the fossil fuel business, so they got no interest in that. And finally, they're even more animated because for a change, there's a liberal investor who is not in the energy business at all, but is tired of seeing this propaganda against climate change. His name is Tom Steyer, and he said he's going to put $100 million in to fight against politicians who are trying to deny climate change. Oh, the Kochs aren't going to have that. They're like, if you're going to raise $100 million, we'll triple it. So they get together in Laguna. Now, the funny thing is, when Tom Steyer announced that, he also said, oh, by the way, I'll challenge the Koch brothers to a debate on climate change. If they think they're so right, and they're not doing it because of their company and the money they have invested in energy, and they want to debate, an honest debate about climate change, come on, let's have at it, Hoss. The Koch brothers, through a spokesperson, put out a statement, and I love one sentence in that statement. Quote, "We are not experts on climate change." Now, that's the God's honest truth. But that's not going to stop them from spending nearly $300 million on it anyway. They don't need to be experts, they just need to confuse you into inaction. So, their new fundraising target for 2014, $290 million. Okay, now they already had a conference in January. They've also had conferences recently in Palm Springs, Newport Beach, St. Louis, and they're doing this all through the center hub of their giving for political reasons, for their own financial benefit. It's a group called Freedom Partners Chamber of Commerce. I love the names that they give these things. Freedom Partners. Okay, great. What is their point of this new energy initiative in particular? It's a new energy initiative with what looks like a deregulatory pro-consumer spin. Oh, yeah, of course. It's all for the consumers. Of course. You're just going to have to deregulate me so I save a ton of money first. Okay, and if you're actually trying to help the other energy industries, like you've helped us, by the way, the fossil fuel companies still get, at a bare minimum, $4 billion, but estimates have it all the way up to $14 billion a year in subsidies. Why do the most profitable companies in the world need all those subsidies? And wait a minute, I thought you hated government regulation and government intervention, so why don't you give those billions of dollars back to the American people? Oh, you're not going to do that because you love regulation when it's on your side, right? So, who are these Freedom Partners Chamber of Commerce, this group? Well, it's 200 members. You know what their dues are? $100,000 a year each. What are you going to Bilderberg for? They're right there. They're at Laguna Beach. they get together, they give $100,000 each and then go, okay, let's figure out how to buy the government so we can make more money. It's right out in the open. Okay, so for the energy initiative, what are we talking about? We're talking about $230 million. Okay, so they're coming. Now, they're not going to invest the $230 million because they're interested in losing money. No, that's an investment so that they can continue to get their billions of dollars in subsidies. They can continue to get deregulated so they don't have to deal with any emissions problems at all. They can continue to put that stuff in the air and not pay anything for it. Now, if it makes you sick or it blows up the planet, it's not their problem, it's your problem. You pay for it, not the Koch brothers, even though it's their industry, right? And all those other guys that are in the Freedom Partners. Okay, what are some of the umbrella groups? What are some of the groups underneath the umbrella group of Freedom Partners? Well, the biggest one that a lot of people know in the political world is Americans for Prosperity. That's how they run a lot of their political bribes through. Mind you, it's legal bribes. That's the system that they've set up. The Kansas Senior Consumer Alliance. That was to make sure that renewable energy did not take hold in Kansas because they were so concerned about the senior citizens there / their own business. My favorite is the Libre Initiative. Gee, I wonder who that's targeted for. Oh, right, outreach to Hispanics because they care so much about Latinos in America. That's, of course, for propaganda purposes so they can trick them into voting for Republicans who will give more oil subsidies. Okay, and also Senator Marco Rubio. Now, Senator Marco Rubio just attended the get-together in Laguna Beach, but before he did, if you remember, just a little while ago, he made some news. What did he say as he was getting ready to head over to Laguna Beach and kiss Koch brother ass? Well, he did it on national television. He said, "I don't believe that human activity is causing these dramatic changes in our climate the way these scientists are portraying it." One more thing he said, "Proposed laws to deal with climate change will only wreck our economy." It's almost a direct talking point from Freedom Partners. See, he's just another one of their subsidiaries, another politician that they bought. I'll show you what they bought with some of those bribes in a second. Now, in the last get-together in January, how much money had they raised? By the way, last time, about 50 donors came. They raised $170 million. What are you trying to look for conspiracies that are hidden? These guys are not slapping each other in the ass. There's no big bonfire. They just get together at a fancy hotel and say, okay, let's give a couple $100 million so we can get tens of billions of dollars back. Conspiracy, right? There it is. Our system allows it. How perverted and ridiculous is it? Then we say, yes, you can do unlimited expenditures on these politicians. Of course they're going to buy them. This is absurd, this system. You got to get an amendment. wolf-pack.com. You got to get an amendment to stop this madness. This isn't even secret. All right, more. Americans for Prosperity alone is expected to spend upwards of $125 million this year on a variety of political and advocacy projects, including air and ground operations, according to Politico. They're coming through the air, they're coming through the ground. The bribes are coming from everywhere. They're bombing the politicians with bribes. And by the way, if you say, hey, you're upset about the liberal investor that's given $100 million in favor of disproving these guys and fighting against these guys, look, man, I take the money out of politics. I wouldn't let anybody give to any politician. Let's have a real debate. Let's go back to democracy so these guys don't run our government from Laguna Beach or wherever they happen to be. By the way, the Koch brothers' net worth, $80 billion combined, okay? But they want more. It's not enough. And they got that money through the energy and manufacturing company that they have, right? Gimme, gimme, gimme. And now we go to the Daily Beast again. Last year, Congress ended a 2-decade-old tax credit for wind energy companies after vigorous lobbying by Koch-backed groups, including AEA and AFP. So what do you buy with all that money? You get people to stop giving money to wind energy. Why? Wind energy is competition for Koch Industries. And what do you do when you do crony capitalism? You kill your competition. These guys hate the free markets. They don't want free markets. They want to dominate the markets. How do you get a monopoly? Oh, competition's such a pain in the ass. Why don't I just go buy the government, have them give me subsidies and kill the subsidies or any other help that they would give to burgeoning new industries that might compete with me? If you don't like crony capitalism, you got to hate the Koch brothers and what they're doing to our democracy. All right, now we go to the governors that they've been buying as promised. So why fund all those governments? Remember Scott Walker in Wisconsin? Well, he killed the unions. Now the unions, of course, try to raise the wages that people are getting paid at Koch Industries. Well, they don't want that. The unions also give money to Democrats who might regulate Koch Industries. They don't want that. Now we go to Ohio. Ohio Governor John Kasich signed off on a 2-year freeze on the Buckeye State's renewable energy and energy efficiency requirements. Look, you can actually debate people, and that's hard. You can try to prove that climate change is not true, but they're not experts on climate change, according to themselves. They are experts in buying politicians, so they give a lot of money to John Kasich. John Kasich turns around and says, oh, your competition in renewable energy? Don't worry, I took care of that for you. Spiked it, gone. And now, finally, we get to their new initiative. According to Kevin Gentry, in an email that Daily Beast intercepted, he's the Koch's fundraising manager, it is, quote, a significant new Freedom Partners initiative. And it is to, quote, drive the national narrative around energy and the tremendous benefits of reliable, affordable energy for all Americans, especially for the less fortunate. That's a nice little spit in your eye at the end there. They're just looking to drive the narrative. That means tell people what to think. And affordable energy is, of course, a code word for fossil fuels, oil, gas, etc. We're going to keep those, and we're going to pretend that we're spending these hundreds of millions of dollars that wind up giving us tremendous business advantages, but it's for the benefit of the poor. Are they not merciful? There's your conspiracy, hiding in plain sight. They rigged the system so they could give unlimited money to politicians and buy them in an unlimited fashion. You've got to stop them. The way you stop them is through the law and through the Constitution. wolf-pac.com. We get a convention, we get an amendment, and we put an end to this madness. We don't let them buy our government anymore. So they can get together in their fancy hotels all day long and talk about the good old days when they could just give bribes legally and pat each other in the ass then and light a bonfire. I don't give a damn. Just don't let them do it legally. Don't let them steal our government right out in front of our eyes. Stop worrying about nonsense conspiracy theories and look at the conspiracy that's killing our democracy. And by the way, fight back against it. wolf-pac.com. I'm tired of running from these guys. Let's go get them, and let's do it the right way, through the Constitution.